It was win or go home tonight for the Cavs, and they are packing their bags after losing Game 5 in Cleveland to the New York Knicks. Final score of 105 to 96. Hello, this is future me looking down on you from above to tell you that the final score was actually 95 to 106. I flipped the numbers around on the scores. Sorry about that. That is a deficit of 9 points. And while I don't have the exact number of second chance points that the New York Knicks got in this game, I can guarantee you it was significantly more than 9. It was also more than 11 points, so that's still a relevant thing to say. Get to that issue back in a minute, but it's clear that the Cavs are going to have a lot of reevaluating to do in the offseason, regardless of the positive message that the TSN broadcast tried to share to Cavs fans in the final seconds. Don't ask me how I got the TSN stream. That's a question that I'll pass to my lawyer on that one. But starting with JB Bickerstaff, where he rolled out the same starting lineup as the last two games to the same flat start. They did not match the intensity level of the New York Knicks at all, and digging themselves in the same double-digit hole that has proved to be too insurmountable for the Cavs to overcome, whether it's because of their own offensive lapses or because guys like Jalen Brunson on the Knicks or Julius Randle when he's flipped the switch on his play for the Knicks get going. Whatever it is, the Cavs just haven't been able to consistently put it together throughout this 5-game series that's been going on. And back to the rebounding issue, that is one of the main problems that the Cavs experienced against the Knicks, where Mitchell Robinson murdered them a lot. He absolutely murdered the bigs on this team. Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley were no match for Mitchell Robinson, and others like Hartenstein and Julius Randle definitely played his role in there. Some of the Knicks guards also committed to getting offensive boards. Josh Hart has been noticeably grabbing them a few times throughout this series, and it just feels like there is a level of commitment that the New York Knicks had to really focusing on getting those boards that the Cavs just couldn't match for, again, whatever reason is presented is not really acceptable, especially when you do have guys like Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley playing big minutes. You would expect them to at least match the level of physicality, but throughout these 5 games, they have mostly they mostly wilted when the time came to accept the task. Where it seemed like the rebounding was getting a little better at the end of Game 2, and then the series returned to Madison Square Garden, and after that, it was just a continuous issue with that. So also what you need in a series is you need your best players to show up. The Knicks had that with Jalen Brunson, who was a machine all series. Honestly, as far as Jalen Brunson goes, you probably could have put anyone on him and he would have performed well. He's just that special of a player where he's going to do what he wants, and the best you can do is try to slow him down. And Jalen Brunson was not slowing down this series at all. I think that's just kind of the way it was in this one. Donovan Mitchell, he after the first 2 games, where I think during the first 2 games of the series he played very well. In Madison Square Garden, a couple of disappointing games, and in this one, his stat line looks pretty good, but honestly, I don't know if I would say he was that much of a difference maker in this one. I felt like in some key moments, he would turn the ball over or not select the best shot. It wasn't a horrible game from him by any stretch of the imagination, but I do feel like his game did leave a little bit to be desired, especially considering the circumstances. And something else that I thought about the Jarrett Allen and some of the stuff on the interior is that it's not just the rebounds that the Cavs are getting mauled in. It's also just the interior play in general, where I would see Jarrett Allen have the ball and he'd have some space between him and his guy, and he wouldn't even bother trying to throw the body into whoever was guarding him. He would take a couple steps and then do like a floater or a hook shot or something. And those floaters did not look confident. They weren't high percentage. They weren't going in that much. I would like to see them at least try to put the body on whoever was guarding them. Maybe they knew that they couldn't because, Julius Randle and Mitchell Robinson do have the weight advantage, but I feel like stuff like that does leak out into other play, and the Cavs offense in general just didn't seem like it was trying to get a whole lot of setup going on. It was a lot of isolation, a lot of dribbling, a lot of pull-up shots that they don't often tend to lead to high percentage shots. And even when the Cavs guards in the backcourt did get some good looks for themselves, they just weren't hitting a lot of their shots. That is something that they got better in the third quarter when they made their comeback to make the game a manageable distance. But again, the flat starts and just when the momentum is slowed down at like halftime or something, it seems like the Knicks would always come out and get their foot in the door first on how the game's going to go. And when you do that, you're always going to be playing a game of catch up. And the Cavs just weren't very good at catching up in this series at all. I think they fell behind in the first couple quarters of the first half by a pretty good margin in each and every game. It just so happened in game 2 that they were able to overcome that deficit, but in games 1 and 3 through 5, they just weren't able to match that. I don't know what the Cavs do after this because it's not like they have a whole lot of draft capital to trade with and move around. I do think that JB Bickerstaff should be very heavily reevaluated. We've had issues in the regular season with some of his rotational decisions and the fourth quarter collapses that would happen with this team at times. And I wanted to give those kind of a pass because you look at their regular season record and where they ended up in the standings, and it was a very respectable regular season for them. But then this playoff series happens, and it was just the amalgamation of all of the little things that bothered us as fans compiled into one mostly horrid 5-game stretch of play here. And to have this happen in this stretch of important games, it just shows like it looks like an unserious coaching effort, and it looks like an unserious basketball team against the Knicks team who came to play, and they were ready. They came in with a game plan, and it does seem like Thibs was a coach who knows what he's doing in a playoff series, and JB Bickerstaff just kind of I think he got a little bit, not a little bit. He definitely got out coached, and most of the time that we saw this series going on for. Julius Randle, he was unfortunately injured in the first half of this game, where he actually was playing a pretty good first half after a couple of very hot and cold moments in the series. But that's going to be something that the Knicks coaching staff and fans can monitor as they get ready for round 2. But as for Cavs fans, that's not really a concern of ours anymore because the Cavs aren't going to be playing any more basketball games against the Knicks, which is, again, unfortunate the way the season had to end. And I do think that the way they lost was so ugly where it's just the imagery of the Cavs allowing offensive rebound after offensive rebound after offensive rebound late in the fourth quarter and getting booed on their home court. I do think that is something that should be a cause for alarm, should be a cause that something needs to change. And I do think that the most obvious, I don't know if scapegoat is the right word because scapegoat implies that like, oh, he's wrongfully, he's done nothing wrong, but there has to be a fall guy or something. I do feel like a lot of that responsibility is going to fall on JB Bickerstaff, and that'll be interesting to see how the Cavs front office handles this offseason because the bench was also bad. I mean, look, Lamar Stevens was put on a milk carton. That's also a weird decision by JB to leave Lamar Stevens out of the rotation for essentially this entire series until just now. And Lamar Stevens did have some positive impacts, but as far as the bench in general, even if JB Bickerstaff deployed them flawlessly and gave them all the minutes that they should have, there weren't a lot of players who had good individual performances in order to warrant them getting more minutes. Cedi Osman was not good with his time. I think Dean Wade got some minutes in game 1. It was so terrible they didn't even try to put him out there again. Losing Kevin Love to a buyout and not putting him back in the rotation, leading to Kevin Love wanting out, was definitely seems like it's coming back to bite us because they could have used another big out there to help the rebounding effort, obviously, but also he does help space the floor with his outside shooting ability, something that also I just like Kevin Love. I would rather see him in a Cavs jersey right now than a Heat jersey, but I guess it is what it is on that front, and they picked up Danny Green on waivers, I believe, and he was mostly a non-factor. I think twice in the series he tried to shoot a 3, but he caught it out of bounds, and mostly just didn't do much in the series. So that was something that the front office seems to have fumbled, not making really any moves of significance at the trade deadline either. The Caris LeVert trade with the Pacers just has not worked out for the Cavs. I've tried to give Caris LeVert the benefit of the doubt. We've seen really great flashes of play here and there. Caris LeVert's a guy who had a really good game too, but for the rest of the series was kind of unreliable. This game, I actually thought that Caris LeVert did pull the Cavs a lot during the opening stages of the game, but for what we traded for Caris LeVert, I think we've expected more from his time here in Cleveland. And just just to end this video, hats off to the Knicks. Obviously, their guys came to play. They put in a tremendous effort of rebounding the ball and asserting themselves in the interior, and how that kind of that just kind of permeated into the rest of the games here. Jalen Brunson was incredible. RJ Barrett was someone who, when the series went to New York, he flipped a switch and never turned it off. He was great in games 3, 4, and 5. He had his impact was felt all over after a really rough first 2 games. He came alive for the Knicks in ways that we didn't really see from the Cavs or from any of their rotation players at all that weren't already doing well. Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland, you do want better performances from those players in these situations. And again, it's a horrible way to end this season. I'm not going to try to spin this and like, oh, here's how it could be better. The only way that this team is going to garner more excitement, for me at least, is the next season comes around, they start playing good basketball, maybe they go on another 8-0 run, and then I'll be excited then. But until that happens, I'm not going to be giving this team the benefit of the doubt based on what I saw in this series. So thank you all for watching this far into the video. If you did make it this far, I don't think I managed to plan to make this an 11-minute video, but it is what it is. I had a lot to say, I suppose. So thank you all for watching. You made it this far into the video. I'll do a final Cavs season wrap-up sometime within this next week. I'll see you at the next video.